Hi guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to be doing a breakdown of the Magnetos and just the differences between the two. So I'm going to be taking a lot of similar fights or same fights with them, just showcasing how each of them look. And then also going to take a couple paths where I just kind of use one or the other depending on the matchup and who I feel they're more, what's like a more ideal matchup for them. So this is a 7-star rank 3 white Magneto, and then a rank 5 ascended red Magneto. So first one here is just a basic Winter Soldier fight. I know people request this fight quite a bit, so just started off with this one. So by the time I even finished this, white Magneto already got through the fight. So just his rotation's a little bit quicker, so Red Magneto is still a very, very safe option for this fight and for many others. But just the rotation that White Magneto has and not having to hold heavy just allowed him to get through that one a little bit quicker. So these are just a couple of I think this is Act 8. So this is Nebula, and then the next one's Vulture. So she's a robot, metal, and then Vulture is also metal. So Red Magneto is just going to absolutely annihilate both these fights much quicker than WAGS can take them. So I believe I should have showcased the notes here, and I didn't. Part of the reason why WAGS is not working as well here is because so his ideal rotation is parry heavy times 3, and then you can just do basic combos and into your specials. Whereas Red Magneto, you just basically hold heavy and win the game. So this one's I think it's Mixmaster, or yeah, Mixmaster. So it just kind of really messes with Wags's rotation, because you have to. I think I threw some like light, mediums in there, or medium, light, mediums. But it just slows him down a lot. Whereas with Red Magneto, he can just parry heavy, special 3, and the fight's over. So that is a really nice way that Red Magneto can get around Mixmaster, is he just ignores it with his rotation itself. So whereas with WAGS, you have to play a bit differently. So definitely Red Magneto wins this one for sure. This isn't much of a competition video, honestly. That I thought about doing it that way, but truthfully I wanted to treat this more as a guide to beginner players. If they're looking to invest in one or the other, or which one should they prioritize, this might be able to give them a little bit of a better sense of where each of these champs kind of specialize and where they thrive in. So, and I mean, I think at this point, I'm not breaking down new characters here, so obviously everybody knows they're both kind of meant for metal matchups, and that's what they're designed to do. So there will be some showcasing where I don't take metal matchups, and again, many of you might think like, well, why are we even wasting our time doing this? Because we all know like that's not what people use Red Max for. But that's all part of the video, and I'll explain all that a little bit later. So yeah, this is definitely Mixmaster, so that's why you see Red Mags. I'm just taking my time and for the most part just parry heavy. So, and then he also works very well for Vulture because he counters miss against metal matchups. So you'll see right there like miss failed. So that's just really nice to have as well. And WAGS does not have that. So, but he does reduce the ability accuracy, so he can get around it that way as well. So he's still a very safe option for this. So one of the things I do want to mention about Magneto House of X is that he still counters the metal matchups here very well, just not as fast. But you also are gaining the pre-fight charges off of this. So that's going to make fights a little bit later easier if you need them, or maybe the boss. But he's very safe for them, and then he also gains his charges as well. So that's nice to see. But if you are looking to just clear the path with one or the other, you're gonna have a much easier time with Red Mags, as you can already see. Red Mags finished this fight and path a long time ago, and we're still waiting on WAGS to finish up. So I try to do a side-by-side showcase like you see here with both of them, and I try to pick some paths where I felt you know, WAGS was going to thrive a bit more and where it might be more ideal. And then I also wanted to showcase what's a lot more ideal with red Magneto. So this path is definitely designed for me to showcase just how powerful red Magneto is, and how much better he works for metal matchups, and also, you know, just robots in general, compared to WAGS. So, and WAGS is still, you know, he's still getting through this. He's doing fine, but it's a lot longer. So again, it's mainly because of the Mixmaster. It just really messes with his rotation. You know, you want to be a little bit more aggressive with WAGS and just basic 5-hit combos. So doing Mixmaster just really slows him down. So this next path here is a display versus non-metal. So again, you're probably thinking like, you know, why are we even showcasing red mags against non-metal? We all know that he's not designed for that. We get that. But you know, I just wanted to do the full breakdown of, you know, where each of them can thrive. So I actually use my Magneto House of X a lot more for non-metal matchups in war. I mean, I don't have a gameplay for this war that we just finished up. I thought about adding it in there, but you know, this video is kind of already long enough. But I mean, I took Pass 7 with a Korg on it. I also take Shield on Pass 7, and again, both those are non-metal, so those are just not matchups that Red Mags is going to do very well against, whereas, you know, WAGS is like just built for them basically. So now this path specifically right here, you're going to see me play a little carelessly with both of them at times, and I'm going to lose some health. I really don't care about that, and you know, I was a bit careless at times, but this one does have regen based on the distance, so I don't really remember what the note's called, but basically you just need to stay far away from them and then you gain the regen, or you can stay close to them and then they get the regen, which you don't want, so you just back up and you get the regen. So you'll see me get clipped a few times, I think, with both of them, and I didn't really care because I knew that later on I'd be able to get the regen and get my health back anyway. So but yeah, I don't clear the whole path, so you'll see why in a second. But you know, WAGS, these are all non-metal, so WAGS is definitely going a bit quicker. You know, his damage source and how it works is just a lot better for non-metal. So and you know, like, this is a Luke Cage. This is not a difficult fight at all. And so one of the things I always say about WAGS is you really want to use him for these easier matchups. Even if it's in war, maybe it's not a defender like Luke Cage because nobody places Luke Cage on defense, but it's still good to use WAGS for those matchups just so you can gain the pre-fight charges for tougher fights later on. And that's pretty much been my stance on WAGS since day one. You know, a lot of people will say like, well, why use him when you can go in with a better mutant? But that's not the point. The point is you're using him for a safe matchup so you can gain pre-fight charges so you can use them on the tougher ones later. So that's just always been my stance on WAGS and why to use him, because, you know, you could just say, well, why not just use Bishop or APOC or something, you know, better mutants, quote unquote. So, well, they don't have pre-fights that you can use on other tougher matchups that APOC and Bishop can't take. So, and it just allows for other, you know, people to go into different fights if you're in war, or, you know, maybe it's for a boss or something. So anyways, we are already on Kingpin with WAGS. Red Mags is, you know, like I said, I didn't play the cleanest, but you'll see my health just shoot up. So what I'm really showcasing here is just the speed of getting through this, not really the health. So I don't mind, like, it's not like I'm trying not to do justice by, you know, Red Mags or something. There's no point in time in this video did I do that. So I wanted to be as fair as possible, as objective as possible. And I was very surprised at like how good Red Mags is at rank 5 Ascended. You know, I always knew how powerful he was, but, you know, I just haven't used him for a very long time. So I was like, man, I kind of forgot how great he is against metal. But this matchup right here is really just a perfect example of what I'm talking about when I say, like, you know, WAGS to me is mostly, like, I use him for metal matchups, but I use him mostly for, like, skill matchups. Just the pre-fight and the ability to sustain your charges. You know, if they're not metal, that's fine. You know, you're not going to gain them, but you can at least maintain them. And then you can keep those going for later on. So that's just always been kind of my thing with WAGS. And so you're going to see here, like, again, I didn't always play perfectly, but I was thinking about this matchup right here. I mean, I guess you could have, or I could have used the unstoppable and the heavy and just use that anyways, like get closer, use the heavy, let him hit into me, and then so that probably honestly would have allowed me to one-shot it. But it's just not even if you do that, it's just not an ideal matchup. And again, this guide is kind of more so for beginners. You're probably not going to play that style and have that kind of mind when you're, facing a non-metal. But again, like, just thinking about the mutant class with like Sinister, Bishop, Kitty, APOC, all the other ones they've been releasing, like, there's no reason why you would use Red Mags against a Kingpin. So I get that. It's just to showcase how WAGS works better against non-metal, and one of my favorite uses for him is against skill champs. So again, I played very sloppy here, and I just didn't expect him to go in there, like right there like that. So I ended up just taking a combo to the face and dying. And again, the ending of that was just poor play on my part. It wasn't really Red Max's fault. And like I said, I kind of wonder if maybe if I just charged up a heavy at a distance, if that would have helped me get through it. But either way, regardless of how you do it, he's just not as clean for it, and that's always going to be my stance on it. So, anyways, I got another path here without metal. So this one's a little bit different. You have to remove the protection with the knockdown, and it's just a perfectly made path for WAGS. So he can really get through this with, just knocking him down and then throwing off his specials and be a bit more aggressive. I'm actually running power backs for both of them on this, and that's another thing I do want to notice, that whenever I'm using a power back, which I took a war fight a little bit later with WAGS, and that's why I had the power back active. But wherever you do see a power back, I had it active for both. So I made sure to go in with Red Magneto, WAGS. I went in with both of them, and I had the power back active for both. So made sure to keep it as fair as possible, but yeah, this one's just heavy knockdown, so it's a perfectly made fight for WAGS here. But you'll just see the main reason why I'm showcasing this is just to show like just the different uses that WAGS has in general, and how he just fits into so many different matchups outside of metal. And the benefits of it are just you can gain the extra charges by winning the fights, especially if you don't have to use the pre-fight charge. And if they happen to be metal, he'll gain an extra, pre-fight charge off of that. But even if they're not, he can gain the charge by being awakened and winning the fight. So, and this is just not as fast and clean of a takedown for Red Mags because again, this is not a metal matchup. So, that's this has just really separated WAGS for me. Even early on when everybody said like, oh, Red Mags is superior, I personally never ever agreed to that, even from day one. And the reason why is because of what you're seeing here though. It's like, again, like what are you using these two for? Well, you're using them to counter metal. So for the millionth time, I understand that, but it's just there's other matchups in the game too that WAGS can actually cover very well, and Red Mags he's just not able to do it. So you can see here I can start spamming special 2s and 3s and he can get through it, but it's just not ideal for him. So whereas WAGS, you can definitely use him, for multiple purposes, whether it's for metal or non. So now this path here, I transitioned from showcasing metal, non-metal, where WAGS kind of thrives, where does Mags thrive, and now this path here is going to kind of showcase really both of them and where you want to use both of them in different scenarios. So this path here has a lot of metal matchups. It also has matchups that are not metal. So obviously when they're not metal, I'm not using Red Mags. We already know how that's going to go. It's just a slow, boring fight. So I can use this though as an opportunity for me to gain some charges with WAGS. So now this node in particular, you want to use a heavy while they're in the corner. That'll disarm them, and then your special ones do extra damage. So you're also going to see me use a different rotation with Red Mags, just because I wanted to test and see what the damage with the boost active on the path, what that might look like. So I'm just scouting the path to see where I can use each Magneto here. So this is a metal matchup, but I would say for this right here, now Red Mags would handle this fine. It's not that he wouldn't, it's just that this is not a difficult fight. Doc Ock is very simple, he's not a good defender really. He's not considered one at least, and he is metal. So I would recommend using like WAGS here because you can gain the extra pre-fight charges by defeating him. So there's not much of a bonus to using Red Mags here other than, you know, he does nuke the fight with him being metal, but again, you know, WAGS can handle these fights on his own as well. So, and you also get massive damage increase on the special ones. So again, that's another thing that just really benefits WAGS way more than Red Mags. However, you know, you see the next fight coming up. So this is another metal matchup, but you're going to see another fight coming up where he's a robot. So he's what is it, Vision, and you know, he's got that power gain, which can be pretty annoying. Now, WAGS doesn't really reduce the ability actually like Red Mags. You know, he doesn't reduce it as much. So I believe it's 70% for WAGS, so it's decent but not great. So against a matchup like this one here, there's nothing. I mean, he's gaining buffs, but like there's nothing really for me to look out for. Because again, Odin's just not really a good defender unless there's a specific node that's helping him. But you know, Vision has that is it synthesis or power gain or something? It just like shoots him straight up to a. I mean, it could go all the way to an SP3. You can still have some bad luck with WAGS in this matchup, whereas Red Mags, you know, he's going to gain that initially, the synthesis there, but pretty much the rest of this fight's just over. So it's a lot safer with Red Mags. So I went in with him here, and that's why I wanted to take this path, just to showcase like how you can utilize WAGS, and then when you should just go for Red Mags if you have them both. Now, truthfully, like, if I wasn't doing a video on this and I wasn't questing or anything, like if I wasn't doing a video, I would probably just go in with WAGS anyway, just to gain the extra charges maybe. But you can also use other champs like, you know, Hulk, Link, Gallon, CGR. Like, you don't have to use the Magnetos, of course, but you know, Red Mags here just does fine. I didn't play this fight super well as far as how Red Mags' kit works, so you're gonna see like here, like the prowess buffs, I probably should have built them up a little bit more, and I started to right here, but it does have like increased damage on the SP1, so I wanted to test that out. So either way, I'm still happy with how he did that fight, and it worked very, very well. Yeah, I would recommend definitely Red Mags for like a robot like that. Now this one right here, honestly, I should just speed through it because this is not a good matchup for either of them. They both deal like energy attacks, and she's not metal, so you're just gonna be building up her binary charges here. So they're both actually garbage for this matchup. You should not do this matchup at all if you're actually questing. So, but you know, I'm going in with WAGS because again, he's just better against non-metal. So, and he gets through it fine. It's just that there's better options, of course, mystics and things that you can use. So, now Colossus here, he's not a robot, but he's metal. This fight actually surprised me, honestly. I went straight in with Red Mags, and I was like, man, like I'll just SP3 and get this over with. I have the Disorients already up, and see, WAGS with a pre-fight here, I think would have worked much, much better. Maybe. I mean, he's armor break immune, so I wouldn't be able to use my SP1. But the fact that I'm not able to parry heavy reliably here is why you're seeing me like use basic 5-hit combos, because again, that's not how you play Red Mags at all. You're supposed to hold heavy. So I did kind of in a way play completely wrong on this path, and I get that. So, but the reason why you see me doing what I'm doing is like I just wasn't able to like parry. So I'm trying to like see, none of these are working. So the reason why I'm doing a 5-hit combo is I'm just using this method to build my SP3. And then I'll start trying to throw a bit more heavy. So I'm very comfortable with reparry, so I did get that off right there. And I've been trying this whole time. I'm like tapping my screen, trying to get that to work, but it's just not clicking. So I finally got that one to work, but I'm trying to build up my like prowess buff. So I use my relic just to be able to get another heavy off. And then he's already, like, I'm trying to get enough time to do this, so... But we got to 35 prowess buffs here, and then threw the SP3 off, and I think the fight's pretty much... It's not over. See, I just... And I think Wags with the pre-fight would have worked much, much better here. And again, he's metal, you know, you could have just gone with like a tech or something. But we're not showcasing techs here, we're showcasing Magneto. So, yeah, this fight just... It didn't go as well as I wanted, so... And the heavies are doing solid damage, too. That was solid. What was that, 35k or so? But we'll get through it. We were barely even able to disable the node on this one, so... do I just go for an SP? Yeah, SP2, so... not an ideal matchup for either of them. So ideally with WAGs, you want to throw the SP1 off to get the armor break active, and it'll increase your damage on the SP2. But Colossus is armor break immune, so against non-techs, so that wouldn't have worked anyways. So I don't think WAGs would have worked like super well for that particular fight either. But I do kind of wonder. I didn't test it out, but I wonder if with the pre-fight, if he would have maybe been able to get around it and parry a bit. So. Anyway, so this is War Machine here. I think does that say Icarus? I think it was. So, truthfully, both Magnetos would work great for this fight. But this is the boss. We're at the end now. So I went ahead and just took this with Red Mags because I knew as soon as I get to an SP3, this thing's going to be over. So, yeah, there's really nothing that either Magneto would have to worry about in this fight, but with, you know, Red Mags, I can just parry heavy, and then it's just over. You know, SP3 done. You know, game over. So, if you're looking to get through quests, I don't remember if this is an Act 7 or 8. So most of the fights I'm showcasing are in Act 8, and there's some in Act 9. And I think I had 1 or 2 that were in Act 7. So, if you are looking to progress through story specifically, and you're at that stage where you're in we'll say Act 6, 7, 8. Red Mags is probably going to serve a little bit better than WAGs, honestly, and it depends on the node in the path. So if you're looking to rank one up or the other, and you're focused on story content, then you're going to get a lot of use out of both of them. But I would say, like, for the metal matchups, Red Mags is the way to go. It does depend on your star level, though, their rarity. You know, if they're only a 5-star, then maybe not, but even a 5-star Ascended could get some work done. But yeah, 6-star is totally fine here. I mean, we just destroyed that War Machine as soon as the SP3 went off. So now this here, so we've got a couple different showcases on where they both thrive. So this one here is War. My only thing really between the two Magnetos is, like, I've been in tier 1, tier 2 wars, you know, kind of bouncing back and forth for quite some time now, and I honestly cannot tell you guys the last time I saw a red Magneto in war. I cannot remember. So, however, whether it's for the pre-fight or not, I have seen a lot of WAGs, and you know, it usually is for pre-fights, but regardless, you're still seeing them way more than red mags. So this is a matchup with WAGs that I've taken many times in the last 2 seasons. So really ever since I ranked 3'd my 7-star. It's just Sheolth on path 7, so you don't really want to apply any debuffs to her. So I just applied the pre-fight, so you'll see the 4 next to the Magneto profile there. Now I can use an SP3 here, so the SP3 doesn't apply any debuffs, it just gives me a cruelty buff and pauses my prowess buffs. So I can use that just fine here, but this one happens to just nuke her, and she dies with 1 SP3, so that worked out really well. So, but anyways, I will catch you guys in the, I have a Google spreadsheet that I do want to do a final breakdown of when to use each of them. Just basically do an overview of everything I just showed you guys, and if you are progressing in the game and you're looking to use one or the other, and it's one or the other because you don't have the resources for both, then hopefully I can help you guys break down which one to invest in. So I'll go over all the details on that. Now this fight right here is X23 9.1. This is a cheese fight. And I'm going to be honest, I did not use Red Mags when I initially did it. I used a rank 3 6-star Lady Deathstrike. And then I did this fight just for this video, and I was like, dude, why? Like, I got through it pretty clean with Lady Deathstrike, but I can't believe how insane Red Magneto is for this fight. It would have been like a crime if I would have done this video without showcasing this. So, one thing I want to note about this fight, if you have done it and you're familiar with how this is supposed to go, one, I'm new to this specific fight and setup, so I haven't done this yet, so I'm still trying to learn like the mechanics of all of it. For this to work, if you have not gotten to 9.1 yet, you need a power back boost. And one thing I want to note in this video is that because of the last war, I already used my 200% mutant power back boost, so I have like 150% power back active, which is also right here why you see I don't have an SB3, which annoyed me, and it kind of put me in a panic mode because I was like, dude, I need to throw an SB3 off here. So I had 150% power back active, and I was looking to see when I could do the 200%, but it was like days from now. So I just went in and tried the 150%, and it actually works fine from here. But it just gave me a little bit of scare just a little bit ago because I wasn't sure if it would work. So, but he completely cheeses this fight, and you can just spam SB3 and get through all the phases. So really, really cool interaction. I wish I would have used it when I did my initial run. So, but yeah, so you have to get through her 6 times. So you'll see her, she has a 4 next to her. So I do this a couple more times, but we're just deleting her entire life off of one SB3 and we're just spamming those. So that's why you want the power back, is to get right back to the SB3. So yeah, overall, just for story content, unless it's like a limber path or something, I would say Red Mags is definitely a lot better for. Um, but you know, just if you're end game though, and your roster is big enough, and you're focused on like War and Eternity of Pain stuff like that, then my opinion hasn't really changed after doing this video. I still think WAGS is actually better. So, but that's just me. So, but I will go over the breakdown over the spreadsheet just to showcase, you know, the scenarios of when you can use both of them. So yeah, let's just get right into that. All right, so we did the video. So this is just a breakdown and spreadsheet to show you guys basically an overview of everything that we went over and where I recommend each Magneto in different scenarios. And this is just a breakdown based on what you're looking to accomplish in the game and where you're at, and if you need to decide which one to focus on or which one to use, depending on whether you're trying to push, you know, incursions, or if you're trying to push in story or war. This is just a breakdown of everything about the two Magnetos, where I think they both thrive, and just like their overall uses. So versus metal matchups, which is ultimately what you're really bringing both of them along for. They both work very, very well. You know, Red Magneto does shut them down a little bit better, but Wags also gets the benefit of, you know, he does reduce their ability accuracy. He also gets extra attack, and then if you defeat them, then he gains pre-fight charges. So I would argue that they're both just really good for metal. Um, I find that if they're like robot, then you know Red Magneto is much, much better. But if it's like I showed in the video, if it's Doc Ock or Odin or something, Wags will work perfectly fine, and you'll get some extra charges off of that. So they're both really, really good for that. That's what they're built and made for. So, but yeah, versus like robots, like if you have like a Guillotine 29.9, you know, she has Miss in her kit. Red Max can counter that. He's also immune to, you know, the power drain, and then he can still hit it into her. So that's just one, you know, matchup example. Um, but yeah, Red Mags against like those robots, you know, you saw the Vision fight, definitely use Red Mags. So, if you're looking for a heal block of within either two, I can't remember if it's X7 Gwenperion or something like that. She had like healing, and I used my 6-star rank 3 Red Mags at the time. So he has a synergy with I think it's Sabretooth Scarlet Witch, where he places a passive heal block on the opponent. So if you do need heal block, he could be very, very good for that as well. He also can reverse the healing if they're metal, so that's always nice too. So now, if your general focus right now in the game is questing, so if you're like pushing through story content, maybe X7, 6, possibly 5, you know, 8, um, I definitely think Red Max has more uses overall. You can shut down a lot of metal champs, especially if you're early on, like X6 or 7. And I don't remember when they like introduced like Omega Sentinel, Nimrod, but prior to that, you're not going to see any of those champs that are immune to red mags in the on the path. So if they're metal, he can counter them. So if you're focused on like Attorney of Pain type quests or like story, I would say red mags is definitely better to invest in. If you do get like a limber path or something, then WAGS is going to be a lot better, especially for non-metal matchups. But yeah, if you're focused on questing and getting through story, then and maybe you're limited on resources or you're not sure who to bring in, then I would definitely recommend red mags for that. So if they're not metal, definitely WAGS, not even close. And I've known that since day one, but I wanted to showcase it in the video. But the reason to use him again is you can gain the charges for more difficult fights later, whether the path, the nodes really, require you use more pre-fights to counter, whether it's like limber or masochism. If you're in war, he's a very safe option for, tough defenders like Baron or Korg, Atuma, like some of those are non-metal. So, but you can use him and then gain some extra charges for fights later on. You can let your officers or your planning, your war planners know that you have extra charges. So that's always nice to have. And so yeah, the like debuff nodes, like I said, like tenacity, like not tenacity, but like masochism, conflictor, um, limber, all those nodes he can counter. So with this pre-fight, and if it's a favorable matchup for him to actually take on himself, then by all means do that and gain some extra charges. So it benefits you to have him ranked up than just bringing him along for a pre-fight. So. And like I said, I've been doing this in tier one, tier two wars all the time. So it's not just like, plat four or, well, I'm, in Master Alliance, so that won't work. Like, that's not true. But um, now, if you do need the pre-fight, WAGS has it. Red Max does not come with a pre-fight. So if you do need that for your allies and teammates, then WAGS definitely will benefit there. Um, I've been using my 7-star white mags in incursions, but truthfully, like red mags, when you get into the later rooms, like zone 20, 21, 22, they can really hit through that block. And red mags just shuts down metal so well that he can still take 0 damage from the block, literally perfect block them, even late in the room. So if you're at the point in your account where you want to start focusing on incursions, I think the rewards are getting a bit outdated, but if they're still very good for you and you're chasing something in there, maybe you're trying to grow your roster and you want the artifacts. Definitely red mags for that because he's so much better for like those late rooms. Whereas wags can't really reliably mitigate all the damage that you might take later. So I personally still use mine just because mine's a 7-star rank 3 level and you know because of how much I like the character, but yeah, definitely red mags for the incursions. So, if they are immune to ability accuracy reduction, like your Nimrods, Omega Sentinel, uh, don't use either of them. They're both terrible. They won't work. Like, don't take Nimrod or Omega Sentinel with either. It's just not going to go well. So, you know, I would say arguably Wags maybe if you need the pre-fight. If there's like a Nimrod with Limber or something, and you want to go in with like Hulkling or CGR or one of your cosmic 7-stars, then maybe bring Wags for the pre-fight. But in general, stay away from them. So if they're techs and they're not metal, don't use either of them. Because likely they're immune to ability accuracy reduction, especially if they're newer champs and that they, maybe they counter specifically the magnetism, which if they're not metal, it's not going to even happen, which is why you want to use these two champions. So I know I tried like it was off-season war, so I did not take it serious. I didn't care. I didn't think I'd even one shot, but I took a path for arcade with Wags, and it was just I literally did 0 damage. I died like 3 times doing 0 damage, and I couldn't even get a way in. He just counters Wags so hard, so I had to go in with like another champ, but I didn't have a cosmic, so it's just off-season wars. But yeah, don't use either of these against non-metal if they're like techs, especially the newer ones that are immune to all this stuff. So. If you're focused on battlegrounds, this one's also not even close. Wags is such a good option for a lot of different matchups, like a Tuma. He can be good for Baron, Fury, metal matchups as well. Even I've got a lot taking Bullseye. He's insane for Bullseye. I have a video I posted where if you put the Sinister Relic on him, you can activate that through block, so he destroys Bullseye. So yeah, I really have not seen a single red mags in a deck at any point in time in Battlegrounds. So if you are focused specifically on Battlegrounds, then WAGS is going to be the way to go without a doubt. Again, this is just a spreadsheet for beginner players looking to progress. So if you're looking to get into Battlegrounds and you haven't really dug into it much yet, and you're looking to build your roster for it, Wags is not like the best for it. Like I would argue champions like Bishop would be a lot better. But between these two, I would say that, Wags is definitely the way to go for Battleground. So if you don't have the 7-star Wags available and you just have the 6 stars, I mean, basically what you know, Wags' awakened ability does is gives an extra pre-fight charge, and it also increases the debuff durations. And ideally, what you want to do with him is apply the SP1 and then your SP2, and you want your armor break off the SP1 active, but when you throw the SP2 off, and that's going to increase the damage significantly. And it's just going to be really stressful for you to be able to do that if he's unawakened. So it's up to you if you want to invest in the 6-star Wags. As time goes on, and I do consider myself an endgame player, so as time does go on, and the amount of 7 stars that I pull, um, I would say if you don't have the 7-star Wags, then probably just invest in the red mags for now, because you'll likely pull the 7-star Wags, and I don't know or think we'll get a 7-star red mags at all. So, um, yeah, I would definitely do red mags if you don't have the 7-star Wags, but if you have the 7-star, I would just take Wags up and forget about the 6-star. So for defense, neither of these are really defenders. They're just not that, they don't have really defensive abilities unless you happen to catch somebody in battlegrounds with a full deck of metal champs. But between the two, though, I would definitely invest in red mags if you're looking for a defender. There's a couple nodes in war where he's actually pretty solid. One of them is One Eye Open. It's on path 9 in section 2. He's solid there because you don't really want to hit him while he's stunned, which means you need to play him stun immune. Um, and so, but when he does that, he can throw off a lot of heavies and he's unstoppable during those heavy attacks. So he does have some defensive abilities. And then, of course, if it's like a hazard shift, I think there's a hazard shift, stun immune node. He could be pretty decent there as well. So if you're looking to bulk up your defense and you're looking between these two, I'm not sure why you would ever look at Wags for that, but if you are, go with Red Mags. So yeah, pretty much do it. My stance after doing this video, truthfully, did not has not changed as far as which one in my opinion, is better overall. As an end game player, I think for early game, Red Mags is better, but for like late game, you probably have enough cosmics to nuke these techs where you don't really need either of these magnetos. But the fact that Wags can counter like skill champs and metal, and then give you those extra pre-fight charges, and now he's a 7-star, and I don't think we're going to see the red mags anytime soon. To me, this isn't even really close anymore. I think, everybody always considered Wags to be the inferior and Red Mags is the superior. But in my opinion, as time does go on and with the 7-star Wags available, I don't think we're going to see the 7-star Red Mags. And in my opinion, this is just separating the two of them. And for me, it's not even close. I was very, very shocked. My overall thoughts on this video, I just, took Red Max straight to rank 5. He was only rank 3, so I haven't been using him at all lately. But I wanted to try this video out, and I will say I'm very, not surprised, but just I forgot how insane Red Mags is for metal. But it doesn't really change anything for me at all. Being that Wags is 7-star available, I would just stick with him. If you have pulled the 7-star, just stick with him. It's gonna be so much better. So, but this is kind of reviews every little aspect of the game, you know, and it depends on what you're really looking to accomplish. So, but yeah, that'll pretty much do it for this video. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy it. Do me a huge favor, drop a like, comment which one do you like more. Um, you know, let the battles begin. But yeah, and then just share it with your alliance. So I will catch you guys in the next one. See ya.